First off, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, especially Addison, our premier speaker. That you're coming up. And we had a lot of donations from different groups and companies, so there you see them. Hopefully you guys got some beer or some wine. Kind of makes the jokes a little bit better. All right, so we're going to stretch it out here a little bit. All right? So I want everyone, first off, just to kind of like introduce yourself to your neighbor and tell them what your favorite trail is here in Los Padres. Just take 30 seconds.
Romero.
It becomes
Alright, everybody? Absolutely. That's your 30 seconds. Can't get them back. Alright, hey, everybody, real quick. Any trails that you want to share? You can just yell them out. Any favorite trails?
Sisquack Loop.
Sisquack? Portiswell, there you go. All right, so we're gonna do one more little stretch here, okay? Just want everyone to stand up. Let's just take a second. I had to take some notes here. All right, so I want you to sit down if you've never been in the Los Padres before. Take a seat. All right, that's what I figured. All right, so now I want you to sit down if you've never been backpacking in the Los Padres before. Day hikes only, maybe mountain bikes, never been backpacking, okay? I want you to stay standing if you've hiked any of the Condor Trail. Keep standing. All right? Okay? All right, stay standing if you've done 100 miles of the Condor Trail. Just collectively.
On foot or bike?
Either one. All right. Why don't you stay standing if you section hike the Condor Trail? All of it. I'm gonna sit on this one too. So we got 3. All right, good job, guys. All right, cool. I had another stretch exercise, but we'll save that for another time. All right, so my name is Brian Conant. I'm the director of the LPFA. For those of you who don't know about the LPFA, we've been around a long time, since 1979. Anybody members of the LPFA when it was the Los Padres Interpretive Association?
Oh, yeah.
That goes back a ways? No, no one?
Susie. Yeah.
Susie, all right. Good job, Susie. Really, we kind of like try to help people enjoy the forest and keep the trails open so people can get out and use the forest and use all the great trails. We do a lot of different trail work projects. Anybody been on LPFA trail projects before? Right on. Thank you. Here's kind of a quick map I put together of all the projects we've done over the last 3 years. I won't go into detail on each one because we'd be here for like a week. And you guys probably don't want to do that. But see, we do a lot of stuff across the forest. Some of the highlights from the last year. We did Alder Creek Trail. Why don't you guys like raise your hands if you did any of these trail projects?
I love that trail. Yeah. Good job with that one.
Yeah, that took us, I think it was 2 years to do Alder Creek. We worked from Doe Flat all the way down to Alder and then up to the saddle there. Pretty cool. That's on the Condor Trail. Also did a reroute of Santa Barbara Canyon. Super fun as well on that one, the Heartbreak Hill. You guys been on that yet? It's done. Yeah. Hurricane Deck did some work out there. The whole Manzana, we swept that after the 2023 storms. got that all opened up, and then we've been working on the Tillahaw Trail out there in the Ohio area. Good stuff, right?
Marshall Trail.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, big of font. Good.
Yeah. So we also worked on the Gene Marshall Trail, specifically from Piedra Blanca Trailhead up to Pine Mountain Lodge. Where's Marcus? He's here somewhere. Marcus did a lot of that work. Right here in front of you. And that's going to be one of our big focuses for this coming year. In fact, all the money that you guys gave through raffles and to get in the building here tonight, that's all going towards a working vacation on the Gene Marshall Trail, hopefully later this season, later in the fall. So a quick little map here. Do you love the maps? We have worked this section in the red. That's all pretty much done. We're going to have our packers go out there in a week and a half and evaluate to see if it's to pack standards. It is, right, Marcus?
Up there?
Yeah, it's the pack standards.
Yeah.
We're working the yellow section. Whoops, went the wrong way there. Yellow section will be worked this weekend. We're going to be clearing trees along the Reyes Peak Trail. And then the blue section is what we're going to really be focusing on this fall and perhaps in the spring. And that's a beautiful section of trail if you haven't been on that part of G. Marshall, the Pine Mountain section there. It's fantastic. So, as I said, we're hoping to do that in November, December. If we can't pull that off for a variety of different reasons, then we'll shoot for spring of 2026. And how many of you are going to come on this working vacation? That's everybody. That's everybody. All right, one more little plug here. If you haven't been to our used gear sale, it is in a few weeks, October 19th at Tucker's Grove in Goleta. We have great gear like Gossamer gear. There's a pack there that we're raffling off tonight. We'll probably have some more. Where's Paul?
Here.
Like 15, 20, 30, 40, 50? How many packs? A lot of them. If you have not been to the used gear sale, in fact, raise the hands if you've been to the used gear sale. We're making this interactive tonight. Get there early because a lot of stuff goes quick. I remember one of the first ones that we did, somebody at like 9:55, they were saying, hey, are you going to like ring a bell or do a horn or something? I said, what do you mean? And there was just this onslaught of people that came and just like bought everything in the first 15 minutes. It was pretty cool. So if you're looking for a new pack, any kind of used gear, that's a good place for you to be. Also, if you have any used gear that you're looking to get rid of, we'll take it from you and then try to get it out to a new home through the used gear sale. All good? Okay. All right, I'm about to say goodbye. My portion is done. I'm going to hand it off to Brian Sarvis, but I do have one quick little thing for you here. This is the Condor Trail logo. Does anybody know what's really, really cool about this logo? You can't say it, James. It does have a map on it. Yeah. So if you look at the inside of the wings there, does that ring a bell at all? These are the Channel Islands and the coastline, Point Conception. See it? Pretty cool. Yeah. Lisa, Mike Powers designed that.
Oh, is he still working for you?
Nope. No, but he did that. Pretty cool.
That is great.
Yeah. So. All right. I'm done. Where's Brian? Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for coming.
And there will be a prize for someone who actually finds that condor in the wild. Well, we're here today to celebrate an epic hike of the Condor Trail. This trail is a 400-mile trail, 400 plus. In fact, in the book, I used the distances that were out of the Tom Harrison maps and the Brian Conant maps. And middle section, we used the distances out of what was on the website, and then we went to the green map for the upper part, the Ventana Wilderness. You know, half of our county is in Los Padres. Half of Ventura County is in the Los Padres. Big chunks of San Luis Obispo, big chunks of Monterey County are in the Los Padres. There are 2 million acres back there. And when I go back, I hike for 4 days, I don't see any people. I see mountain lions, I see bears, I don't see any people, and the mountain lions and bears don't see any people. They are the shyest creatures in the world. When Addison told me that he was going to do a thru hike, I said, gosh, I think you'll be only the 6th thru hike. And there are others who've done big, Mike Mackey's done big sections of it, almost the whole thing. And there are others here that I've talked to. So I said, so what's your plan? You know, do you have your resupplies? Let's sit down, go over maps. Anyone interested, I'll sit down, I'll spend hours with you going over maps and things like that. He says, well, I think I'll do it in 22 days. 22 days, 400 miles in 22 days. Well, granted, I'm an old guy. You know, I'm a slow hiker. When Brittany Nielsen went through, and she first hiked this trail in 2015, I think she took, 37 days, I think, something like that. When I section hiked it in one direction, I took 34 days in total. When I reverse hiked it and did the whole 400 miles going the other way, you can go either way, it took me 34 days. When Matt Hengst, Church of the Masochist, went through, Matt Hengst is a big-time hiker. I mean, he did the Pacific Crest Trail, he did the Continental Divide Trail, not just Triple Crown. He didn't do the Appalachian Trail. He did the whole East Coast Trail. He did from the tip of Florida up, including the Appalachian Trail, all the way to Newfoundland. So Matt Hengst went through. He did it in 29 days. I think he took only 2 down days, so for hiking that'd be like 27 days. 22 days. I couldn't believe it. This is an epic hike. So, Addison, tell us about it.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming. I am really excited to be talking about the Condor Trail. I can talk for a long time about the Condor Trail. It's my favorite trail, and it's still my favorite trail even after I have done the trail. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of an intro into like who I am and then the hike and planning that before I start talking about my trip on it. So I've been hiking here since 2013. I'm originally from San Diego, came here for college, and instantly fell in love with the Los Padres. Was spending as much time as I could back there. And when I finished my time at UCSB, I went on and did the PCT in 2019, and it was great, and I loved it, and that was fun. But the whole time I was like, man, I wish this was the Los Padres. And so I came back here, and I hiked more in the Los Padres, and I started doing bigger loops. And I started doing like longer through hikes, and I think my longest Los Padres hike before the Condor Trail was like 110 or so miles over 7 days, doing like a big backcountry loop here. And I was like getting more and more into it, and then when you get into hiking in the Los Padres, you realize that the trails mostly are really, really tough to hike, and they're really, really overgrown, and they're hard to follow. And then all of a sudden you'll get to a spot that's just perfect, and the trail's 8 feet wide. And there's no one there, it's like a ghost just came through and just whipped the whole thing into shape. And naturally I had to figure out who was doing that. And so I figured out it's LPFA. And so I reached out to LPFA, started volunteering, and now I work full-time here. And I struggle a lot with why I did the Condor Trail. I mean, I guess because I like the Los Padres, but I didn't know about it until 2019 when I was hiking in the Los Padres with my uncle, who we were doing a training hike for the PCT, and he started talking about the Condor Trail, and I was like, what's the Condor Trail? He's like, well, you know, the Condor Trail will kick your ass. And I said, I'll be doing that. We're doing the Condor Trail. I'm looking forward to it. Another reason I wanted to do it is just that, like I said, I really like the Los Padres. And then more like selfishly and logistically speaking, it's a pretty short hike. It's only 400 miles. You can do that and keep your job. You don't have to quit your job, take 6 months off and go hiking. So I was getting into it because of that, and because not a lot of people know about the Condor Trail. The people in this room, there's the most people that know about the Condor Trail ever in one room together. Why did I decide to do it this year? Is because we had 2 really wet years. If you live in town or the Central Coast in general, remember 2023, 2024, just outrageously high rain years, which is great because a lot of these places that have been dry for like 10 years that was a 10-year drought before that, are now flowing again. And I was like, okay, it's going to kind of shape up into a good year to have water in places that might not usually have it. And then we come into 2025 and it was really, really dry. And we got almost no rain in January, no rain in February, and I decided to pull the trigger in March because it had been so dry. I was not going to have to deal with high water, but I was still going to have water to drink from and swim in and stuff. And of course, it rained like half the time I was hiking. The first rain in like a month, just the whole time I was hiking. But it was still worth it. And then when I was looking into it, I was looking into who had hiked it and how long that took. And I just found out if you go to fastestknowntime.com, there's a bunch of records holding logistics for people that have hiked all these trails, all the long trails and shorter stuff too. And I saw there was no official FKT for it. And I was like, saw that the unofficial one was 29 days, and I was like, I think I could beat that. So I kind of went into it thinking about that. Brian said it was 400 miles. My GPS says 422.5, so a little bit more. You go through 7 wildernesses in 4 counties. I'm going to name them all because they're exciting. The Sespe Wilderness in Ventura, and then you go into the Dick Smith Wilderness, the San Rafael Wilderness, the Garcia Wilderness, the Santa Lucia Wilderness, now you're in Slow County, and then you go up to the Silver Peak and the Ventana Wilderness in Big Sur. It took me, I usually say 22 days, because no one needs to know this, but 21 days, 5 hours, 31 minutes, which is an average of 19.9 miles per day, which I usually say 20. And just a little bigger view of the map that we looked at earlier. For the purpose of this talk, I'm going to break it into 7 sections, which is my resupply sections, and I'll get into that a little bit. In terms of what I did to get ready for it, the first thing I did is just hike a bunch. You got to spend a lot of time in the Los Padres. It's like not the most accessible forest. So I think having months, but ideally years of experience hiking this and being ready to be crawling through the bushes, and you're going to get poison oak and get ready for some really hard to find trails, kind of acclimate you to doing the hike. And then Brian talked about his book very nonchalantly. It's a great book. It's got so many details. I don't know how he's taking notes at these places when he's hiking through it, because I'm just screaming and crawling. And he's somehow got notes for all this off-trail stuff with very detailed bullet points of when you're going to run into what, and you're going to turn left here, and all of this. And I have no idea how he did it. So
That's why it took 34 days.
Yeah, 34 days. So read it one more time. Read it 3 times, 4 times. It's very helpful. And then the 2 most important websites when researching the hike is hikelospadres.com and bigsurtrailmaps.net. LPFA manages Hike Los Padres. It's got trail conditions, water reports, everything for most of the southern Los Padres, as well as the northern Los Padres. But when you get up there, more people use the bigsurtrailmap.net. And that's got all the Silver Peak and Ventana Wilderness in it. We're like color-coded, how good does that trail look, recent reports and everything, so you know going into it, you can plan your distances, what does that trail actually look like. It's not just miles. Sometimes you go 20 miles in a day, sometimes you go 4 miles in a day. It really depends on what that trail looks like. And then I start planning how far I'm going to go and where I'm going to camp, and ordering gear like this wonderful tent that may be very wet the whole time, but is very, very light. And I start to plan out where I'm going to put my resupplies and my buckets. I dehydrated 80% of my food for this hike. I would totally recommend it. I don't have a good dehydrator. It's $10 on Facebook Marketplace. It took two weeks in the evenings running it overnight, but my food was really, really light and really, really good. And I would recommend it for just like anytime you're going hiking. It's so much better. And then lastly, you buy your buckets and you deliver your buckets and you get ready for your hike. Does anyone know why I'm talking about these buckets? Why am I talking about the buckets?
Oh no.
Oh, you're not ready?
Because you had all this food that you had to resupply. You carry 22 days of food with you at the whole trip.
Exactly. You can't carry 22 days of food. And the Condor Trail doesn't really go through towns. So you plan out how long it's going to take you to get through each of these sections and where you're going to cross a road. And I decided there was 5 roads I was going to cross. So I made 5 resupply buckets plus another resupply that someone met me with on the trail. And you go drive around on the coast, and you bury buckets in the ground. On the side of the road, the side of the trail, You pull out the trailhead. I would take a little photo of what it looked like, put it in my mapping app so I don't forget where I put my bucket. When I'm there, I was only there actually a week before doing the hike, so it wasn't that long. I was probably going to remember it, but take a photo of where you're going to put your bucket. And it's really good for keeping it insulated, keeping the critters out of it, and keeping it watertight. And it's also nice. You get to go drive around the whole Central Coast, camped out at the Indians to put my last bucket on Nacimiento Road up by Cone Peak. Get all that stuff going, ready for your hike. I did that the weekend before I was going to do the hike because I was a little last minute. I was unsure if I was going to go due to some incoming weather, but decided to pull the trigger and get going to the Bottcher Trailhead, the southern terminus of the Condor Trail. All right, so this is all from the first section of the trail, Piru to Ozina. It's actually 4.8 miles. It took me 4 days. This was kind of my acclimation section. Some trails you might recognize in it are Agua Blanca, Alder Creek, Sespe, Piedra Blanca, Reyes Peak. This is the Ventura Backcountry Sespe Wilderness. How many people have hiked one or all of these trails? It's like a very popular spot. It's a really nice spot. It's a great spot to start out on the trail. And just a little bit bigger view of this map. The green dots are where I camped each night. And for the most part, where I had planned to camp and where I ended up camping was not the same at all. Was it slower or faster than that's the question. All right, day one on the Condor Trail. When I was planning to leave, I was looking at the weather, and after our very dry month of February, there was just a large atmospheric river coming 3 days later, and then another one about 5 days after that. So I was unsure if I was going to leave, but I decided to do it. I'm happy I did it. If I pushed it back, I was kind of like, I wait too long, it's just, what if it keeps raining? It's just going to be raining the whole time anyways. Or worst case scenario, the rattlesnakes come out. No one wants that. You don't want to be crawling through the bushes with rattlesnakes in them. If you go early, there are rattlesnakes. So I went early, started at the Bottcher Trail. This is looking back towards Lake Piru as you climb up this very, very steep ridge. It was very hot, very humid, and I did not think it was going to rain the next day. This is looking towards the Agua Blanca drainage. If you haven't been up Agua Blanca Creek or down Agua Blanca Creek, it's mostly off trail, but it's a pretty accessible off trail, and I recommend it a lot. It's really cool. There's some really cool narrows that come up, and the whole time after you drop down into it, it kind of turns into an old trail. There's markings, like on the right side there. That's an old blaze on the trail. That's the trail right next to it. But a lot of times you're just walking in the creek or along the creek. And the first night I was there, I spent the night at Cove Camp, which is a pretty remote camp. It's like 10 miles from the trailhead, and half those are like off trail. I've been there once before, and then I've been there this time. And both times I've camped there, there's been someone else camped there. Meanwhile, I've never camped with anyone else anywhere else in the forest. So I don't understand what it is about Cove. But I thought that was kind of funny showing up my first night. And the next day I hiked up and over. This is the Big Narrows on Agua Blanca Creek, which is a really, really awesome spot to go. The trail itself goes around it, and so that's where I am climbing up the hill. But you can also opt to walk straight through the gorge. That's about 2 miles. I started getting some really epic clouds this day and started figuring out that it was probably going to rain. And I get to the top of my hill and I find an old T-post for like a fence line. So even though I'm like off trail, way out in the woods, someone's been here already, which is kind of a recurring theme for the hike. You're always like, there's no way, and then there's a firing, someone's been there already. The rain came. This is looking up the Sespe. And I was walking down this hill and start to feel it start to rain a little bit. And then it starts to hail, and then it starts to snow, all within like 5 minutes. Whip on my rain gear and start charging down. The luckily freshly brushed trail, thanks to LPFA projects, but not that bad. If you've been on the Sespe River Trail, it is one of the easier trails here. It's pretty flat. It's pretty open. It's easy to walk. So the next day I spent hiking up the Sespe and just did kind of the whole thing from Shady Camp up to Piedra Blanca in a day, just cruising. Kind of moving, getting ready, getting my feet ready, hung out, knowing that it was going to be raining again in the next few days, and I was going to be kind of leaving the Sespe. Did some laundry in that nice ice-cold pool on the right there. and hung out for the day and just took it easy until the next morning when I started hiking up the edge of Los Trail, which is very steep, do like 3,000 feet and 4 miles or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's cool, there's snow. I remember hiking up the trail, like, wow, how fun, like a little bit of snow. Didn't really put it together yet. But further up the trail is going to be quite a bit of snow. Yeah, it rained the day before, you know, what was I thinking? And that whole next day, the clouds were actually hanging on Pine Mountain, so it makes sense. But climbing up the trail, more and more snow. By the time you get on the backside of Reyes, I was going through like 18 inches of snow pretty consistently. Luckily, it was nice out. It was warm, it was slushy snow, not too many consequential little slip and falls. Nice trail, but it did make it very difficult to follow the trail in places. All of these are the trail. This is the trail. Whitehorn ceanothus. Everyone know Whitehorn ceanothus?
Yeah.
It's a fun one. Really, really spiky. Full of noxious little sap. And then right there in the middle, that's the trail. And you just know because there's a cut on that log there. So when you get to the open places, right, you're finally out of the bushes. You get to the open places, now you're lost because you don't know where you're going because there's no defined trail. And probably the scariest part was that one on the right side, the rime ice. So when it gets like really cold and it kind of snows and rains and it freezes in the pine trees up high, like icicles, and then the next day it melts and they drop down on you the whole time when you're hiking, which is like unnerving. You know, nothing's probably going to happen, but something could happen. And it's not that nice, and it's a little bit scary, but you do get some sweet views as you climb up here, which was very fun. Looking at the kind of cliffs below Haddock Peak there. And you walk this ridge and eventually you get out of the snow and you're kind of on the ridge, and it's quite a nice spot up there. I think that is Santa Cruz Island way in the distance on the right side. So got some sweet views that day, hike up over Pine Mountain, and you drop down Boulder Canyon Trailhead to Ozina Station on Highway 133. In total this day it was like 5,200 feet up and then back down, over 22 miles or something like that. But I was feeling good. Felt nice, you know, get your legs under you, get ready for the next section, which was a lot more snow. I got used to it. I never hiked it. Do you guys like go out to hike in the snow? Is that something people do?
No.
Yeah, one of you. I don't. It's not usually my favorite, but I embraced it. It was quite fun. So now we have the kind of Santa Barbara backcountry, Ozina to Manzana Schoolhouse. Has everyone been to Manzana Schoolhouse?
Yes.
The Lower Sisters, it's a popular spot. Really cool. You're on the Condor Trail if you're out there on Manzana Schoolhouse. So this section, 4 days, 73 miles. And I actually kind of slowed down towards the end of it because I was meeting my girlfriend Chloe, thank you Chloe, at Manzana Schoolhouse with my food for the next section, as well as a whole wealth of gear that I decided I need to replace based on the next day. That was my weather prediction for leaving at Ozina on Wednesday and hiking 26 miles to Santa Barbara Canyon Trailhead, and then Thursday going over Medulce, maybe the highest point on the Condor Trail, one of the highest points on the Condor Trail. Which is not what you want when you're going up and over a mountain. So I wasn't going to not go. And I figured, you know, worst comes to worst, I get up to Medulce and I could like hang out and wait out the snow. And then the nice sunrise that morning at Ozina Station, when you get those red clouds in the morning, usually means you're getting some weather coming in. And it was pretty accurate. I woke up super early, jammed up deal, and got to like the saddle and watched the rain start to hit Pine Mountain on the back there, and just like pushing its way towards me. And you get into the Dick Smith Wilderness there, which was the first like new section of trail for me. I've never done deal before. And it was really nice, but it was really hard to follow, and the rain tended to kind of pick up right when I was getting lost. And I had to, I'll put my rain gear and stuff on and put my phone in my little waterproof bag, and then have to pull it out to find the trail and go. You're following your GPS the whole time in the rain. But once I got through another little section, I had a very nice hike in the rain. Actually, I liked it a lot. I've never hiked all day in the rain before. Why, you know? But it was nice. It was a soft rain. It was a soaking rain. It was very attractive out there. You're following Rancho Nuevo Creek, which is really good. And when you're nearing the end of Rancho Nuevo, you get to this fun green gate that who knows how old that is, but that's the trail. And I got there, it was open. And I know Sarvis told me this one time. He said, you can't leave the gate open. Because if you leave the gate open, it lets all the magic out. So I made sure that I closed the gate on my way out. Don't worry. That's Rancho Nuevo Canyon on the left side. Really nice canyon with this creek flowing out of it. There were just really good colors that day because of the kind of gray backdrop and everything just getting a little wet, kind of for the first time in the season. Everything had been so dry up to that point because we didn't really have a lot of rain. So it was nice walking through it, following these dirt roads and motorcycle trails through this section. One thing that did cause a problem is because of the rain and the sand and my feet being like soaking wet all day, which like you can plan for like wet feet at river crossings, but nothing really prefers you to just have wet feet for the whole day and then multiple days in the end. So I did get my first blister that day walking on that road. There's more to come. But I don't usually get blisters, and I was like, I don't get blisters, and I brought just a little bit of blister tape, which was a mistake, and I burned through that very quickly. At the end of the day, hiking in the rain all day, that was my water that I had to drink. A puddle in Santa Barbara Canyon Creek. Which was just, you gotta laugh at that, right? No other way. Pretty good water. Tasted okay. And I spent the night at the trailhead there under a nice pinyon pine. It kept me dry overnight as it snowed down low. And it was cold this morning. This was like the first cold morning. It hadn't been that cold yet. It was just kind of like wet. It was like, I think I woke up, it was like 25 when I woke up. Cold on the east side there. And because I knew that I was going over Dulce in the snow probably before I left on the trip, I brought an extra pair of base layers with me to actually wear while hiking, which is not an ultralight move, but I did it, and I'm happy I did it because it was cold going over that mountain that day. So hiking in my base layers and rain gear up Santa Barbara Canyon, which has anyone been to Santa Barbara Canyon before? Yeah, a lot of people. It's not my favorite. I never liked it that much. I like it now. It was really nice. Look at that. So overnight, like all of the rain from the previous day, like froze and frosted all of the bushes. And it was really attractive walking up there. But it shortly turned into a lot of frozen snow right on trail, which really wets you out very quickly, just pushing through the wet bushes all day. You get a little view of Dulce on the left side there, where I'm headed. And further up you get more snow, but much less snow than going over Pine Mountain, and also a lot drier snow, which also meant it was a lot icier and a little bit sketchier. Way more slippery. I don't have like crampons, not crampons. What's the light ones? Microspikes. Yeah, I didn't bring those. Ultralight. I brought extra base layers instead of microspikes. But it was really cool. You haven't been to Dulce in the snow. It's quite nice. You can. No. I had a good time, and I was waiting for those 40-mile-an-hour winds and 7 inches of snow accumulation and all of that, 30-degree high, and it didn't really happen. So I kind of lucked out. I went over. It was like hovering. I was getting snowed on, but not too much. And then on the right side there, you're looking at the Sierra Madre Mountains, which were just totally dusted in snow. So you're looking down the Buckhorn Road there, and then that I think is Salisbury Potrero. And then you can see Sierra Madre Road cutting through that. But in the distance, you see blue sky. So I'm just like stuck under this cloud of snow moving through. And as you drop onto the other side of the Buckhorn Road there, you drop into the Sisquoc drainage, which is actually like an arm of, it reaches the coast. It goes into the Santa Maria River, and so you're at the end of a coastal valley, basically, and it was like noticeably wetter on that side. Looking down into Alomar Canyon on the other side there. And then this is in the Sisquoc, which is like an hour or two later, but like just totally different environment. It might just look like snow too. It felt very different. It was warm. It was wet. And luckily at this point on, I knew the trail was pretty good, so I started cruising a lot faster. And found some sun later in that afternoon where I pulled over on the side of the trail and tried to warm myself. And even took out my tent to try to dry it. I felt like there was enough sun, and it quickly clouded over and started to snow. And I made it to Cottonwood Camp, which is marked by that. I think it's a ponderosa pine or the coulter pine. Marks Cottonwood Camp, kind of in the middle Sisquoc there. Spent the night, went down to the river to wash off and everything, and once again started to snow. So I spent a cold, wet night in my tent and got ready for the next day when it was sunny. And it was really nice cruising down the Sisquoc. Sisquoc was my favorite trail. I think it's still my favorite trail. It's really nice out there if you haven't been on the Sisquoc. It's really good. A lot of poison oak in the upper section, but once you drop down to the lower section, nice. No problems. And I had plenty of time to dry out my gear. We call this garage sales, yard sales. If you thru-hike on any of the like longer distance trails, you'll see, especially in like PCT in Washington, like anytime there's a patch of sun, you stop, you put all your gear out. You get it dry, because it's going to rain again that afternoon. Hang out, do some laundry, and get cruising down towards the middle Sisquoc, the middle upper Sisquoc, which is just really nice. You kind of go up high, you leave the river, and you're up high going through this more narrows with some deep pools. And after things cleared out, of course, I got this crazy thunderstorm that came in from the north, which is not normal. We usually get our storms from the south. Right when I got to the exposed grassy ledge way far away from all the trees, powered on through that. And got to some flowers, my first flower of the trip this one. Pretty exciting. Bush lupin, they smell really good. Common names, I don't know the scientific names very well, but bush lupin, very nice. I made it to the schoolhouse the next day. That's Chloe. Who met me with my resupply that was my food for the next section, and also included a new pair of rain pants that had ripped going over my dulce the day before. Well, a whole roll of blister tape, Rico tape, because my feet were now just, you don't want to see them. You think about all the trench foot and stuff, it's bad. My feet were not good. And a lot of other fun stuff that had broken on me that I needed. So playing your resupplies with people sometimes, and you get new things that you might have broken and need moving forward. And it was fun. We just hung out, didn't do much. There was actually some people camped at the schoolhouse. Those were the first people I had seen since, and everyone's favorite part, the Condor Trail. This is the part that I had no idea anything about going into it. I was most excited for it and also most scared of it. You go off trail. So we've been following trails this whole time. The beginning, you go a little bit off trail in Agua Blanca, but for the most part, you're on trail for everything else. I think literally on trail for everything else. And this part is all off trail for 52 miles, which is just as long as all those other sections. There are old trails here. The route does follow old trails, and then it kind of connects them. So you're like, the trail kind of goes up the creek, and then you just have to like overland to the next drainage and drop down to it, and then there's a trail. But these trails haven't been trails for at least 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and especially since the La Brea fire in 2009, none of them have been worked, so you're not following a trail anymore. You're just working your way up these drainages. We'll see what I have to say about it. I'm still not sure how I feel about this section.
Did you lose anything?
Yeah, so the triangle. This is the La Brea Triangle, deemed by Brian and Brian. Because every hiker who has gone through this section has lost at least one thing. Did you lose anything?
My sanity.
That was mine! Shouldn't have asked.
Almost a water bottle came out of my house.
Almost a
today.
water bottle. Yeah, someone who
Almost-
came through after you
almost
lost their filter.
The sanity mostly.
Yeah. So I didn't lose anything. But my sanity. Yeah, I did lose my sanity a little bit. And I just got stoked on the flowers for a little bit, sorry. Bush poppy, my favorite plant. Smells really good, smells like Jolly Ranchers. You see them in the front country, you don't have to go far. Go up Rattlesnake, Hesesita, something, you'll see bush poppies in spring. Smell like Jolly Ranchers. And a lot of this section is really nice. You follow flats, right? This is not a trail, but it's pretty easy to walk through. Kind of follow the flat, cross the creek, follow the flat. A lot of them look like this when you're down low. And it's pretty easy to follow. Sometimes you're just walking straight up the creek. But the creek's wide like this. I don't know if it's always looked this way. I mean, it's not always looked this way, but it feels like maybe there was some debris flow in 2023 because it was pretty washed out. Like, a lot of people complained how choked out this section was. There's like young willows growing. A lot of it I was just walking up boulder fields, which I think I got a little lucky with that. But also the creek does narrow out, and you're just walking up or down the creek. It's nice in those places, but there's usually deeper water and your feet are wet, and there's a lot more poison oak. Which, if you get poison oak, this is not the section for you. The trail might not be the trail for you. But if you wear long sleeves, long pants are usually pretty good. And then this is what the overland sections look like. So this is, as Brian Sarvis called this in his book, a sparsely covered chaparral slope. I got here at the end of the day thinking, all right, sparsely covered chaparral slope, going to do another 3 miles to my camp. Instantly stopped. I think I spent like 3 or 4 hours hiking and got like a mile through this. And you're just pushing through it. Luckily, it's kind of soft compared to that Whitehorn ceanothus, which is a lot worse. This is like mountain mahogany, bay quad ceanothus, and you can really swim through it. It's very similar to swimming in like kelp with some poking. And you just push through. It's not that fun. You scream a lot. I may have cursed Brian Sarvis' name a couple times while out there. May have cursed Brian Conant's name, who told me this wouldn't be the worst place to be in the rain. I think this would be one of the worst places to be in the rain. It wouldn't have been that fun. And don't worry, it gets better. It's more of this. And that one on the right side there. That's what I got a text from, I think, Sonia saying, like, wow, you're really slowing down out there.
Slacker.
Thanks. That's what it looks like that day. And it sucks, but you learn to laugh about it. It's like type 2 or 3 or 4 fun. And I don't know. You got to do it. It's like a necessary evil to finish the trail. And you're out there in the middle of nowhere, push through the bushes, and you find like these old signs of camp. It's like a felled tree and what looks like some chainsaw cuts on a burnt out bush there, like maybe a fire line from the Brea or something, but this is way out in the wilderness. As well as old camps. Because everyone, even though you're not on the trail anymore, people are still following this route. 2 people a year. 1 person a year, maybe 2 people this year, right? This is Hiawatha Camp. That someone has rebuilt. Did you ever find Hiawatha Camp?
Oh, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Looks about like that. And that's at Carey Canyon Camp. There's actually like a whole bunch of ice can stoves out there. These old stoves you see at the camps in the forest. And they used to, you build a fire and you push it in there, and it's kind of like a griddle that you can cook on. So it's kind of, you're out there and you're pushing through all the bushes, but you're still finding all of this sign of past life. And especially my favorite part of it, the cairns, which are not the trail. They're not marking the routes. They're just Brian setting things up every once in a while. I think it's funny, I found like 5 or 6. So we were following the same route, even though you're not on the trail. He talks about that in the book. He's like, yeah, it's not for any reason, just to make you feel like you're doing good. But it's also quite nice out there. There are a select few nice places out there. This was one of them, named Wyndham Gap. You start to really feel like Central California when you're out there. This grassland with the deciduous oaks. Really beautiful views. This is the top of Salsipuedes Canyon, where I made at the end of my day going up the sparsely covered chaparral slope, which is about like 4 miles less than I want it to be. And yes, it was very wet that night. I know, I'm right on a creek in the bottom of a slope in my wet tent. Does anyone know what Salsipuedes means? Even if you can. Yeah. Spent the night. This is that view from the beginning. This is looking down Roque Canyon. It's probably my favorite view of this whole little section. And this ridge that goes down the middle, that's the trail. So I walked down that ridge to the creek and kept on going down that next creek. Eventually you get closer and closer to Highway 166. And you get more and more of this oak woodland, and you finally kind of break out of just pushing through the brush all day. You're in some more recently old trails, as well as some like ranch roads and stuff, some cattle paths, and some nice views, finally coastal views. I'm in the middle there. Actually seeing Guadalupe Dunes in Santa Maria. And this old gate that I thought was really funny. It was out there in the middle of nowhere. A 2-way gate, like there was 2 roads out there at one point, and now there's none. And you think you're doing great. And you finally are like on these roads and you're going, and then you get to this, which is the trail. That's the trail. And I looked on the map like multiple times. I was like, I could probably just follow this ridge and keep going around. I don't need to drop into this. Like, that's horrible. Why would anyone do that? This is it. This is the only way through. That's all chaparral yucca, if you can't tell. Those really spiky ones that are out there. The whole hillside. The whole hillside. Like you could barely fit your feet between it. And this is an up-close view in the middle. And then finally when I made it to the top on the other side, looking back down, very steep as well. Like you're climbing, you're using them to climb up. But when I get at the top, an old fence, right? Someone's been out there putting fence through that yucca. And finally you get to Willow Spring, which means you're done. with the off-trail portion of the Condor Trail. And shortly after that, I get to like a real trail. I found this sweatshirt hanging in the tree, like a JanSport or like an Old Navy sweatshirt, and I was like, yes, like I'm done. This is a trail people use. There was mountain bike tracks, there was trash, and everyone's so happy to see trash. And continued on down to Highway 166, where I've been really looking forward to walking on like flat ground, because you don't have a solid step for 3 days. I didn't have like I'm going to put my foot there and it's going to stay there. And I didn't like the road at all. I wanted to be back in the bushes. It was right away. I couldn't wait to get off the road. As per usual, but it did clear out. And I started walking. And just to give you an idea of like what these old motorcycle tracks and paths look like, they're very, very steep. They like hurt to walk up and down. And at the bottom of this one on the left is a little creek that you can't see because it's not really flowing. It's full of a lot of green scum, signs of cattle. And because my clothes were so dirty, I did my laundry in that creek. In that morning at like 7 a.m. And it was cold. And then it got really humid, and then the clouds came over. And my clothes didn't dry. But as I was walking, they dried. So after like 3 or 4 hours, I had dry clothes again. And I'm happy I did it, because you could breathe again. Like, I can't really describe how horrible it is to walk in clothes that don't breathe. But it's really, really bad. A lot more cow paths and a Jack Daniels bottle hanging from the tree. And then you get to Garcia Potrero, which was maybe my favorite spot. Very green, very nice, but this whole day I was just kind of like running from the coming rain and pushing through as fast as possible, and eventually hitting a little bit of trail that turned into no trail. And I had to push my way through this bush to stay off private property, that you get a lot of in this section. And I spent like 2 hours climbing around these bushes, trying to stay off private property. Don't tell I went through the private property, because I couldn't get around it. I was sick of falling through the bushes, and the rain was coming, and I charged on down to this cow pond. And this old stone house. I think it's like a camp or something out there. But finally made it through all of that, over to Caldwell Mesa with some more green. And at the end of the day, get to this just like horrible hill of like cow paths that are all mashed up. That you climb up, and I had a hard time following it, full of poison oak, but finally make it to Buckeye Camp, which I was told this night that I should have a good spot to sleep since it's going to rain a lot. And the person I asked that to knew that I was camping here. They didn't say anything. It was not a good spot to camp from. It was very slanted. It rained a lot. And because my tent had been so wet for so many days, the condensation inside just like poured down on me all night. I just think like every 5 to 10 seconds, someone's just like spraying you in the face with a water bottle. Just spritz all night long. And so I decided overnight that I would be continuing to San Luis the next day, which would be 33 miles. But it was well worth it, and I'm happy I made that decision because I had been wet for too long. Swollen Creek there showing you how much it rained. Soon went off trail the next day to this place called, I think it's like Huff's Hole or something. Had to find my way back to it and make it up to the High Mountain Lookout. And got some nice views back to the beach. Less rain this day, looking at Pismo Beach there way in the distance. And following finally like a nice road for quite some time. And dropping into the Santa Lucia Wilderness, where if you haven't seen California news, go to the Santa Lucia Wilderness, go to Big Falls, go to Lopez Canyon. You have to look down the whole time because you will crush them. There are so many. So you have to like tiptoe down the trail to not crush all of the newts in that canyon. But it's very, very green, and you do feel like all of a sudden you're really in the Central Coast. And Lopez Canyon is awesome. Really cool water features. It's called sulfur pots on the right side there. It's kind of like mineral deposit that create all these infinity pools. A lot of poison oak, just a really sickening amount of poison oak. But you push through, and there's 2 camps that both look like this. They're immaculate, even though you're like, there's like no trail out there at the lower part at least, and it's all poison oak and down trees. And then there's camps that look super great. And made it up to the ridge finally as the sun was setting, and decided that I was going to continue on into town and hike down in the dark under a full moon, which was super fun, and it totally lit up my way. This is no light, no flash, nothing, just me hiking down the trail to Highway 101. Where I had to climb underneath the underpass in the dark. It took me way longer than I wanted it to do. And walking up the other side, I had my bucket buried there, and I ordered an Uber on my walk up at like 9 p.m. There's no one in the trailhead. No, it's 9 p.m. It had been raining for 3 days. And I dug my bucket up in the mud and my rain gear, got it all over me. My Uber showed up within 5 minutes, and I knew it was him because there's only one car that pulled into the parking lot. And he like has his lights on me, and I just give him a little hand. He just pops his trunk open, didn't roll down the window, didn't check it or anything. I put my bucket in the trunk and I go inside. He's like, "Can't say I've done this before." I don't know why you would have done this before, but I'm happy you stopped. And then it's short ride into San Luis Obispo. And I spent a day there because I was like a day and a half or 2 days early now, recovering. Had to buy new shoes, kind of just resting as much as possible before the next section, which is very different. Like the southern Los Padres and the northern Los Padres, you have to walk some roads. And mainly Highway 41 and 1 are the ones that you're walking through this. You have a little bit of dirt, and then you follow the coast. Highway 41 goes from Atascadero to Morro Bay, and then the one, of course, goes up the coast. Highway 41 is really sketchy. Very small shoulder. Leaving San Luis, you get really awesome Sergeant Cypress Forest. Finally had some sun, of course, for the days I was walking on the roads and not in the bushes all day. But it was nice to walk through the sun and start to get some views again. Looking at Morro Bay, Morro Rock, you can see out there, and the cinder cones that kind of dot the San Luis area. And that's just an example of the shoulder on Highway 41. So you walk against the traffic because you want to see them, so you can jump off the side of the road. This is like one of the wider spots on that. So a lot of times you're actually on the other side of the guardrail because there's a little bit more safety. But you do eventually make it to Morro Bay. I wouldn't hike Highway 41 again. If I did it again, just skip that, get a ride. No, not that fun. And you walk the beach up, Morro Rock, and kind of looking up towards Cayucas, which is where I spent the night here. A good break, nice walking on the beach, much better than the road, and a good break from the brush, like right in the middle, to kind of get you ready for Big Sur that's coming up. A little bit weird because you haven't seen anyone for a long time, and you look really bad. And people don't like make eye contact. But you just push through. Don't worry about that. And there's some nice little coves and stuff. You walk on the bluffs and kind of make your way up the coast. And if you've driven 101, you can get to any of these places. If you've hiked around, you've seen the elephant seals, you've hiked the Condor Trail. So this is it. We're just going right on the central coast there. You pass the town of Harmony, that very small town, with the winery and the general store. And Cambria has this boardwalk that you walk through. It's a big tourist town. There's a lot of tourists there. And you look just awful walking on the boardwalk. And they're all walking with their family or their girlfriend or whatever. And it's a little bit funny. Made it to San Simeon and started big point-for-point part of the Condor Trail. I had one bucket left in this section on Nacimiento Road that I break it up into. And you're going through like the Civil Peak and then the Ventana Wilderness, so southern Big Sur. Following up, spent 2 nights in this section, my last night at this named Cone Peak camp after I got my bucket further down the trail. I did get rain that next morning coming out on San Simeon, but I was prepared for it, and it was like a lot better on the road. Probably made the traffic a little bit lower too, because no one's doing their scenic drive in the rain. But it kind of cleared up, and you do get to see all the elephant seals, which is really nice. They're not just on the beach. They're under. If you walk on the highway, they're actually like in the creek underneath the bridge, like looking up at you with those big black eyes. A little spooky. And they're like way up the creek too, and it was nice seeing all of that. Hiking here, the rain was coming and going, and I got like one good spot where I was like, all right, the rain's gone. Took my rain gear off. Like 30 minutes later, a big cloud comes, but I can see the blue on the other side, and I'm like, it's going to be fine. And it just dumped, like the most rain of the whole day. Didn't put my rain gear back on. Took 5 minutes, and I was just like completely soaked through. But it was hot enough without the rain, once the clouds cleared and stuff, that you actually like dry off. Like Hawaii out there, very humid, very green, very turquoise water. This is San Corpoforo Beach, the southern part of Big Sur, and where you head back into the forest on the Condor Trail. that's your start of the trail, that electrical box. I went there like a month or two before I hiked it to find the trail here because I was like, I've never seen a trail there. And I didn't find it when I went there a month or two before. And then when I met with Brian before hiking, he was like, no, there's a trail there. And it's there. It's like underneath this dead tree. I just didn't notice it. But you just kind of hike up. There's a bunch of private property. Feels super weird. Feels like they don't want you there, but it's a public easement. And you like start climbing up above the houses. And you climb way up, kind of steep up. And you get back up high into the mountains there. And this day there was just kind of like these weird squalls just coming through all day. It was very different than it usually is when I'm hiking, where it was like thunder showers just like coming through and washing away and being sunny and hot and humid. Take your rain gear off, you're sweating going up the hill, and then you have to put it back on because it gets freezing cold and you get pelted with rain. But it did make for good rainbows.
Nice.
And you drop down into this valley on the other side, and I spent an awesome night, because I knew it was going to be my last night. It was wet. It wasn't going to rain anymore, and it's when I would finish. So I spent a very nice night at Turkey Springs Camp, and I recognized that firing instantly, because that's a firing that Paul Cronshaw made.
Yeah.
I took a photo and I asked him after the trip, and I was like, Paul's this? He was like, yeah, I was just there. So that was cool. A little bit of home out there, way far away. And after the rain stopped, I started to enjoy the scenery a little bit more. Lots of Douglas irises in early spring there, and chocolate lilies. There was like probably 300 chocolate lilies in this field, which is way more than I've ever seen before. But due to all the rain, we still had like really high river crossings, high creek crossings. That's Salmon Creek Falls. You can just drive to that. It's right on Highway 1. Just hop off the road there. I'm just gushing, like just really going. And since I've been to like these places before, I didn't go up and like get close to it and stuff. I got miles to do. I had like 25 miles to do that day. But nice to see, nice to have a clear day, and I feel like I really got rewarded with Big Sur after so much rain. Like it was just perfect. Like perfect views every day, blue, epic sunsets, and really like there's no issues for this whole southern section. Very nice, very green. Get the redwoods, you're back in the ferns, and then there's this fun old bridge on the only like bad trail in this section that used to be the trail, and now it just sits in the creek and is part of the landscape there. Later you get to Cone Peak. This is the highest you can get and the closest to the ocean in the continental U.S. So you're at like 4,800 feet. It's something tight. It's like 5,000 maybe. And you're like 2 vertical miles from the ocean. So you get pretty epic views from up on there. And that was kind of like the highlight of this whole day, just walking through, seeing that crisp coastline, following these roads, and looking at Cone Peak. Grabbed my last bucket, dropped down the Kirk Creek Trail, saw this cool little cascade just like gushing out of the side of Cone Creek there. It wasn't named, couldn't find it on the maps, don't know. This whole area burned in the Dolan fire in 2020, which burned a lot of the central Big Sur area. And I'm happy I came through after they cut these trees out, because some of these were like proper 6-foot diameter redwoods. There was like 50 of them through the trail. And to climb over that sucks. It's really slow going. And someone had gone through and cut all of them out already. And later that day, I got to the Center Flat Camp, and there was like an SCA crew camped out there. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so great. Like, you cut all those trees out. Like, that was incredible. And they just took full credit for it. And they're like, that was us. We did that. I found out later it was VWA who cut all those trees out. But, you know, take credit when someone's stoked. Found a nice spot to camp beneath Cone Peak. And got ready for what was going to be probably the worst part of the trail. Big Sur, very temperamental. I hiked the Blackcomb Trail. Yeah, only the Condor Trail hikers. It sucks. Oh my God, one of the most overgrown trails I've ever hiked. But this is the end. Bottcher's Gap, my finish line. I was going to make it on the 22nd unless something went horribly wrong, and I was looking forward to getting out of there and getting back to civilization. Nice views, good sunset, everything was feeling good, or sorry, sunrise, everything was feeling good that day. Climb up to, this is on the Gamboa Trail, looking back down, and it was really good through this point. It's kind of bad a little bit forward, but pretty good. And then like just all of a sudden, just boom. And like the off-trail part sucks, but it's soft brush. It had all burned like over, so there was really not a lot of deadfall left. But this is what happens when you have like hardened fire, burnt scrub that has fallen, and then the new growth has come up. And it's a lot harder to get through. You have to crawl. You have to take your pack off. You have to maybe go off trail way around it. Did a lot of screaming through here. So some sections you go 200 feet in like 40 minutes. Like it was pretty bad. It was not a lot of fun. And I've hiked this before going, and it was like awesome. And I was like, it's not gonna be that bad. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Turns people around. And then this was actually the only consequential spot of the whole hike was this snow patch, because I guess it had snowed on Cone Peak and that rain the day before. And it was really, really steep and really, really icy. And there was nothing to stop you below. And like the slope was really steep. And so it took me like, I don't know, 30 minutes to go like 200 feet across it, because it took me so long to chop each step into the snow and then walk. And then I tried a little one. I was like, oh, do I not have to chop? Oh, no, slip that one. You have to chop all your steps. So it's slow going. But you finally make it around Cone Peak and get some epic views. Looking back, Cone Peak's that one, the pointy one in the middle there. And I don't know, I might be wrong on this, but at the time, I have Peak Finder. Great app if you don't have Peak Finder. It shows you the ridge line from where you're looking. And I'm looking out in the distance. I'm using Peak Finder. And it says that's Big Pine Mountain, which is the high point in Santa Barbara County, the upper Sistwa, where I was, the second section of the hike. And then for those in town, that's San Ynez Peak, it says. Is it possible? I don't know. I don't want to know. I think it was. It was exciting. And I'm happy that I thought that was San Ynez Peak. And after this, you follow the road and you start to get into the northern Montana, which is a little more rugged in places and then really good in places. Like you have the Pine Ridge Trail, which is like the most used trail in the forest, and then you have the Black Mountain Trail, which is the least used trail in the forest. Nice sunset, walking the road. It's called the North Coast Ridge Trail at this point. It was a road that's been turned to wilderness, and so it's still pretty easy to walk, well maintained. Getting up that next morning, heading towards Ventana Double Cone, and finally leaving the ocean to drop back down into the forest. Just hiking the Black Cone Trail. That's the start of the Black Cone Trail. Would you hike that trail if it looks like that? That's an old sign. That's the trail. It's right next to it. And I heard, and my intel said the first quarter to half mile was the worst part. So if I get to the first quarter and half mile, it would be good. I thought it was fine, the first quarter and half mile. Like Poison Oak, whatever. We used to Poison Oak, love that stuff. And after I finished that half mile is where it got really, really bad. You get to, it burned twice over. It burned in 1999, burned again in Soberanes in 2016. And there's been no work done on it, so you get all of the brush just grows back in the trail, and it's a very, very steep slope. So you're looking at the trail and just walking on that ridge that way. And that's up close. That's what it looks like. And this was, for me, the worst part of the whole hike. Just totally unforgiving, crawling, pushing through way denser brush in any of the off-trail sections. And there's no water. It's 8 miles long. There's no water up there. You're going like a half mile an hour, 1 mile an hour when you're very, very lucky. And it was pretty brutal, but I could taste the finish line. Push through. Would I do it again? I would probably skip this section. But later in the day when I was like, I'm ready to sleep in the bushes, done it before, I'm not going to make it. If it gets cold and you're in the bushes, pro tip, just crawl in the bush. It's a lot warmer. Don't have a tent, but you'll be fine. And I was ready to do that without any water and sleep in the bushes. And then I get to that last mile of the trail, someone had worked.
Wow.
And I just like sprinted it. I was so happy. I did, like a plug for trail work. Like, wow. And I made it out, no problem, and cruised on down to Pine Valley Camp, which would be my last camp for the night, or the last camp for the trail. And like got in at dark, sat in the creek there, which is very, very cold. But it felt good. Just like laid in the creek, scared this very, very crowded camp. Your first time on the whole trail where there's like a lot of people go there, so I scared all those people when I was just laying in the creek and camped in the middle of the night. And I looked pretty. I looked grim. I would not have talked to me. But I pulled up to the upper meadow, no one was there, and I looked out in the meadow and thought I saw like a bunch of foxes, but those are actually deer. There's like 12 deer. The meadow's just so big that they looked tiny to me in the low lighting. And realized that after not losing anything the whole hike on the Condor Trail, I lost my LPFA patch on my backpack. It's been there since 2019. And I lost the bottom of one of my trekking poles because you're like holding onto them and crawling, and it must have just like unclasped and just gotten dragged out at some point, which I need to set up for my tank, which is a little bit of a bummer. But one night left, no problem. Nice and frosty overnight. Got up early the next morning, so I would have no questions that I would be finishing that day. And then this next section is this thing called the Bottcher Trail, which everyone has said is very, very bad for a very long time, and I'll let you know it is no longer very, very bad. It is very, very good. And someone has worked all of it. It's like turned people away. They've turned back instantly, starting from the northern terminus, or they decided just not to hike through it, just like bramble, poison oak, just suck. And I have no photos of it because I walked up it in like an hour and a half. And cruised, and you follow this ridge line and start to see signs for Bottcher's Gap, which is my terminus. And started to look back at the hike that far, and was getting pretty excited to see the finish line and happy with what I had done, and luckily found this fire break at the end, and followed that all the way down to the finish line at Bottcher's Gap. And it felt good to finish. It's a little weird because no one's there. It's been closed since Sobranes. So it's just an empty lot with a rundown campground. Roads closed. But it felt good. Sent my final check-in message on my Garmin. Done with that. And took some photos of myself to show you just how bad that Condor Trail was. My clothes were clean the day before. I did laundry the day before. It's got this wart leaf ceanothus that's got like a sap in the leaves, like this resin. Trash bag all over again. Just, yeah, like, I'm happy, but that's what you look like. Happy to be done, happy to get into town. Got picked up by some friends at VWA at the end of the road, and was home the next day, which is a bit of a whirlwind. You just take the train home. Nice train ride, but weird to do that after all of that. I just want to talk just a quick bit about the gear that I was using. Long sleeves, long pants. People do it in shorts all the time. Ridiculous. Don't do that to yourself. Gaiters, huge. Keep your shoes tied. Keep the stuff out of your shoes. Keep the foxtails out of your socks. They don't need to be nice. Just anything to keep that together. Sun gloves. Your hands get so dirty from pushing through the brush all day. If you're just protecting them, you don't get like canker sores in your mouth because you got like dirty hands, like eating and stuff. It's totally awesome. Wouldn't do it without it. And then this bladder that opens up on one end so you can scoop water instead of just have to like stick your smart water bottle in the low flow or no flow puddle. And then the last thing that I brought on this that I've never used before is a laundry bag. Adds to your base weight, a little weird, but keeps you from having to go into town. And was able to get pretty clean, like totally worked, would use it again. My favorite piece of gear, Alpha Direct Fleece, so light, so warm, used it as base layers. They weigh like 8 ounces for the top and the bottom together. They're warmer than smuggle. 100% recommend. My rain jacket had to make the list because I stayed dry the whole time. Everyone says don't get a Gore-Tex rain jacket. That's wrong. Get a Gore-Tex rain jacket if you're hiking in the rain the whole time. I'd rather be sweaty and hot and then dry than soaking through my rain jacket the whole time. And my backpack, which I love very much, and I've been using since 2019 and still holds up in the Los Padres. I've probably done like 1,000 miles in the Los Padres with this backpack and another 3,000 or 4,000 elsewhere. Looks great, no problems with it. My least favorite gear was my tent. Don't buy this tent. I was so wet in this tent. Oh my god. I love the duplex. I've used it for years. But this one, because it just got one door and a slant on the other side, it never dries out, even when you set it up to dry. And if it's humid, it doesn't get dry. But it's 12 ounces. So maybe buy that tent, because that helps a lot. Overall, this is the pack that I was working with the whole time. Those extra base layers I brought from Dulce were 12 freaking ounces, which really jumped my pack weight up. And I carried those the whole time to make sure that it was never that cold and snowy again.
What about socks?
Darn tough socks.
Socks.
Darn tough.
Did you have more than one pair?
2.
In the rain?
Yeah, I mean, they're wet anyways, right? It doesn't matter. And then just a little plug for trail work. This trail would be the best trail in the whole world if it had trail work done for all of it. Like, it's so nice. You get to see so much. There's so much variety. There's so many cool riparian areas that you don't get to see anywhere else in the world. And it's only not accessible, for the most part, because the trails are really, really bad in places. Well, lucky for you. We do trail work. These are volunteers. All of them volunteers. Many of them are here tonight. Look around the room. What can you do to help? You can volunteer. This is our working vacation on the Alder Creek Trail, part of the Condor Trail. Those are all volunteers before and after. I knew going into it that it would look like this because we had worked the trail, and you just blow through it when it looks good. We pay for pack support and food on all of these, so you can always donate. We have a professional trail crew who's funded a lot on donations. So if you can't volunteer or would you like to do more, we take donations. And we have a bunch of events coming up. Check the website, lpforest.org. Come out. We'll see you there. That's it. We're going to do some Q&A.
We have problems with poison oak. I have problems with poison oak. I come to a dead stop. I'll go up the cliff, I'll go into the river, I'll do anything to get around poison oak. And my last hike I went 400 miles without getting it once. What's your secret?
My secret is you just get in the poison oak a lot.
And,
With long pants and long sleeves.
and you hike in the rain.
And when you hike in the rain, yeah, it keeps the oils off.
It'll just wash
Yeah.
off. What a great idea.
I was not like super just charging through all the poison oak, but I didn't avoid it when it was unavoidable, and I didn't get it the whole time. And I do get poison oak. But yeah, be clean with your gear. Wash your clothes, you know. Don't like touch your soft skin to your clothes.
Right.
Keeps you off there. If you get it really bad, like don't quote me, you know, like don't go out there and just get hit tail with poison oak.
Right.
But yeah, it works out okay if you just go with it.
And I'll put my shirt in a plastic bag,
Yeah.
gallon-sized plastic bag in the
Yeah.
tent at night. My pants in a gallon-sized plastic bag. Brian Conan, where'd you go, Brian? Will wash his shirt and his pants, and he'll hang them up. And in the morning, he'll put on a wet shirt and wet pair of pants.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it works.
Yeah, and you know, have sleep layers, right? Like this is not the hike to
Right.
just sleep in hiking clothes. You just ruin yourself.
Other questions?
A note on the poison oak. I feel like if you don't think about it, you're not going to get it.
Does everyone else agree with that?
It's a mind thing.
It's a mind thing. You know, I had to touch my face plenty of times, rub my skin all the time. I didn't get it once.
Yeah,
Wow.
nice. Congratulations.
Maybe
That's
just-
two Condor Trail hikers
maybe
have
just-
got poison oak. Just a little bit. Yeah, question.
Yeah, it looks so cold out there. What was your sleeping bag like? Did you change them or did you switch it up?
Yeah, I just used one bag the whole time because like the buckets are small. I didn't want to like, you know, deal with changing stuff and fitting in the buckets. It was a 15-degree bag, like full sleeping bag, no quilt, by Big Agnes. Not my favorite, but kept me warm. I was only cold maybe 2 or 3 nights, and it was mainly because it had been so wet for so long that it was starting to lose insulation.
Synthetic.
Yeah. No, it's a down bag.
Is it down? Oh, wow.
Yeah. It got like a little waterproof coating on the outside, but
You dried
after
out?
that many days.
Dried out a
Yeah, it
little
would dry out super quick when it was in the sun. You just don't have a lot of sun. Yes.
Were you worried about wildlife?
Just rattlesnakes. Which is why I did it so early. I never talked about why I did it so early. If you do it early, there's no rattlesnakes, and the poison oak's not leaked out yet. So do it in February, March.
Because it's so cold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no rattlesnakes. Probably not rattlesnakes. It did get hot some days, but I didn't see any. I didn't see a snake the whole time.
And I've never been worried about the wildlife. It's so shy.
Yeah.
Ben has a question.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of wildlife, did you see any condor or any other
I
cool
know,
wildlife
great
sightings?
question. No condos. But 2 weeks later, on the Alder Creek working vacation, we saw 5 on the Condor Trail. So that kind of counts, right? And then I did see a bobcat. That was the coolest thing I saw on Cone Peak Road. Besides that, a lot of birds. It's early. There's not a lot of stuff going on, I think. Kind of sleeping. Or you're just moving quick and you're not paying attention, and I walked past a bunch of it. Yeah.
What was the most you walked in one day?
33 miles. 33 miles on that day into slow, which wasn't planned. And I was burning at the end of that. Because that was like 15 days of like no shower or rest or anything, you know? And running down the hill at the end. Yeah.
The big deep coat buckets.
Mhm.
You carry that, or you left it there?
Oh yeah, you bury it in the ground.
You bury it you bury it back, like after.
Oh yeah, I leave it. Yep.
And then
I go back the next weekend.
I get it.
Actually, no, it took me a while to get the last run at Cone Peak. I didn't make it back there for a while. But yeah, you gotta pick them up. Don't leave them there.
Did water get inside any of them?
No, totally dry. And I dehydrated all my food. Didn't get moldy. Like no problems. They felt insulated in the ground. There's one in the back. Yeah.
What was your best meal
Best meal.
or snack?
No, best meal. Yeah. You know what Maggi noodles are?
No.
It's like a curried ramen. And so I mixed that with a bunch of dehydrated tofu and vegetables and stuff. And it's like got that warm but like that spice and milkiness. That was nice and it was cold. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Were there any alternatives to Highway 41? Why didn't
That's where the route follows. So I walked it. I think it's a lot of private land at that point.
Yeah. There's an extension beyond Cerro Alto, which is the campground right there, where the forest actually runs up above Highway 41, but you can't go through to the little road that comes out of Templeton.
Oh, yeah.
So we're working with an organization to see if we might get access in some way. Highway 41, I think the best alternative, I think, is Uber. The other is that roads like that are really good if you're looking for roadkill, because you pick up great little skulls of these animals that have been there for a long time. And you take your trail mix bag and you put that skull in there, and then the next day you put another bag around that, and after about 7 or 8 bags you can hardly even smell it.
We don't recommend that. Yeah.
Any run-ins with ticks?
Oh my God, yeah, tons. So many ticks. Oh yeah.
What was your strategy for that?
Yeah, you go through the bushes. The off-trail section was pretty bad. San Luis was pretty bad. Big Sur, not that many, and not that many before then. But you go through like pockets of like dense brush, and you walk through and you like maybe go through one and you're like, I only got 10. So you go through the next one, and now you got like 30, and then the next one. And once you're like looking down and it's just tick, then you stop and you go like that.
I think you clear them away from me.
Yeah, you don't want to get bit. You know? Yeah.
What's like the total elevation?
Oh, good question. That was in an article. It was like 66,000 or something like that.
Wow.
69,000. Yeah. I didn't know that. I don't know how they got that information. But 69,000. Yeah.
So it was 69,000 elevation gain in 420 miles.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Thank you for that question. Yeah.
Which part do you wish you had taken slower and just
Oh,
enjoyed?
totally. Yeah. San Luis backcountry. Because I was just kind of running from the rain and being wet for so long, and I needed to dry my stuff back. Like I would go there again, and now, unfortunately, most of that burned in Gifford fire this summer.
Yeah.
So everything from Highway 166 to High Mountain is now, we haven't seen it, I don't know, hasn't burned in recorded history, is what I was told. So
And it's closed. Can you point out on the map what we know about?
Left, off, trail. Oh, we're way up here.
Good. We're way up here.
So yeah, Gifford was like from Lazy to the end of the off trail, and then all the way to High Mountain. It's kind of that whole section there. Which could be good, could be bad if you're going for a hike next year. It could be really easy to pop on
That's
through.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Any adventures while you're out there about?
Yeah. Not many. I have a pretty blank mind, but the big thing is I was looking forward to not being in the bushes, and I was like, I'm gonna get into car camping. and yeah, things like that. And that lasted for like a week or two. I think I went back off trail with Tyler like 2 weeks after I was back. He's like, we gotta go do this thing. And I was like, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to do it. And I went, and it was fine. It was great. But yeah, it's just, it takes some time. Like Los Padres is cool, right? And it's really easy to get into like the intensity of it, but there's also nice stuff you can do that's not necessarily the Los Padres. And enjoy that for what it is as well.
What was your longest water carry?
Oh, I don't even know because it was not a problem. Maybe like 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much water out there. In dry years, you would have some long ones. I guess the longest one was what's that? Rancho Nuevo or Tinta?
Well, from Garcia, from Tinta, you come down Dry Canyon. That's pretty long.
Yeah.
But there's a longer carry from Garcia up on the ridge roads above San Luis Obispo. If you don't have a resupply under 101, then you're going to continue on the ridge road on the other side, and I believe that's 17 miles.
17 miles. I went into town there, and I had a bucket, so I had water in it. But yeah, the Dry Canyon one, that was my longest one. That was probably, that was the day where it rained all day. I found a puddle at the end, and that was probably like 10, 12 miles.
We also had a thru-hiker who called for a pizza at Highway 101. They just come out of San Luis Obispo and deliver your pizza. So, so have them deliver a drink too.
I know I suffered a fair amount of injuries out there from tumbling and falling with the crappy terrain. Did you suffer any major injuries?
No major injuries like that. Just like my feet being trashed from being wet the whole time. Like like Luco tape, like just totally wrapped.
Yeah.
Both like up to here. Just wrapped. Don't feel your feet. Yeah.
I saw them and they were a horror show.
They're really bad.
Really, really terrifying.
Yeah.
So you're alone for days and days. Are you doing anything for like entertainment? Are you just out there?
Yeah. I brought a Kindle, and on the worst nights, like most tired nights, I read it for 5 minutes. And some nights when I wasn't that tired, like I had to make sure I went to bed. So that was nice. I read every night for the most part. I did bring AirPods, mainly for the road section. I don't like to hike in the bushes with AirPods but that was nice for the noise canceling aspects on the road. And besides that, you're just walking. There's like a lot going on out there if you're paying attention. There's at least, I said I saw no animals, but there's tons of bird life, tons of bird activity going on. And it's just nice to walk. Talk to yourself, you scream at the Bryans. Fun stuff like that.
Your headphones probably get popped out with the
It's not just a
That's a problem.
little trail.
Yeah, no, it's really just the Kindle was entertainment. Yeah.
Obviously know our forest extremely well, and so which part surprised you?
Which one surprised you the most?
I guess the San Luis backcountry, like the same spot I would go back to. Because like I just didn't know what to expect. It's hard to access. There's really only like 2 trailheads to get to all of that, and then same on the other side. So I hadn't been there before, and it was really nice. It's super green. Like February, March is a great time to go there.
And I'd answer that in the very same way.
Yeah.
I think that backcountry is a beautiful section.
Now it's all burns.
Yeah. Well, see, could be flowers this year.
Yeah.
There's someone in the back. Oh yeah. Aaron?
I'm sorry.
Is the route kind of set in stone, or are there some like reroute options, or are we moving things around?
There are some reroutes. Every year things change because of the weather, because of fires, because of the growth. Sometimes there's a slide on a certain mountain path as you're going down to the Sespe from Alder that lets loose, and there's nothing there. There are workarounds on all of those, and I try to keep track of including the Ventana Wilderness people with any washouts, and so what's the workaround on the washout. So I've developed a number of little inroads up to the Gamboa Trail if you can't get up Highway 1 or something like that, so that you can do a resupply or something like that along the way. And there are some options too. There are a couple of places, for example, at the Deal Junction, you could go on up that creek and get to Medulce in that way. That'd be a wonderful. It's all your own wayfinding. You're not going to be able to pull out a phone unless you're simply looking at a map, like a Gaia map, a topo map, to find your way. You could also go around Medulce to the north, or you could drop down and go south. So there are some options along the way too.
Are there any plans to put the trail on Gut Hook? Or as far out now, I guess?
Yep.
But I know.
I don't know.
You can download the KMP files, and they're pretty accurate. I know where they're not, and I can let you know.
Yeah, me too. It's pretty fine to be able to take whatever you use for GPS and simply download those files. And you can get the files off the website. If you have any problems with that, get a hold of Brian Conan, and he'll make sure that you get those files.
Yeah, and I just used Gaia the whole time, and I don't pay for Gaia. I use the free Gaia.
Me
and
too.
I had no problems.
Me too.
All right.
Okay, we all good?
Thanks, everyone.